Barakatuh. Welcome again. We're here another Wednesday, 7 p.m. on Ramadan Radio Wolverhampton. It's been 5 weeks now, and it's gone really quick when I think about it, from the first episode with my dad. And here we are again, 5 weeks later, still going on the show, still happy, still excited, still wanted to share the stories of Reverts. And yeah, it's been brilliant. So, I mean, this week I've been thinking, when am I going to get myself to be on the show and have my side of things? You know, someone asked me some questions. Sometimes asking everyone else questions, you know, you feel a bit left out. So I spoke to my dad last week and I said, Dad, you know, next week you've got to interview me. That's it. There's as long as we're here, can you do it? And he said yes. So that's the good part of it. But as always, this show is in connection with the charity Wolverhampton Muslim Outreach, a charity made by committee members for the committee to help anyone in their time of need by means of which they are able to support. And you can get in contact with them via WhatsApp on 077 265 84473 to discuss your needs or how you are able to help. So last week was a pre-recorded show, a little bit different. It was actually a conversation that my sister had with her friend Amina, and we did that about a week after the first show. So Amina was on there on a phone call with my sister, speaking about her journey and the struggles that she had. Is from Tanzania, and came over to the UK in Newcastle. Had a lot of spiritual issues for herself. That's how she described it, and she thought that her issues that she had were mental or physical, but in the end she realized that it was a spiritual thing. She had to cleanse herself, and through trying to find her way to God, she came to Islam. And that helped her. So going through that's on YouTube now, so you want to listen to that one. It's a good story for her. She's only 20 years old, but when I listened to her, I thought to myself, how does she know so much in such a short space of time? I think she had only reverted last year in November fully. So if you think, 7 months, and you're like, that's some good going. But yeah, so that's on YouTube now. So have a listen to that if you haven't, and all the other previous shows as well. So we've had myself with my dad on the first show. Then we've had brother Dawood on his talk, which was good. My sister, and then Amina, and finally now we've got me on the show. I'm actually joined again with my dad, who's had a lot of people commenting on really good things on the first show with him. They loved having him on the show. They kept saying, they just want to listen to him the whole time. And I thought, well, I might as well just have his own spin-off show. I was like, give this up and get my dad just to do it all the time. So without further ado, Assalamu alaikum, Dad. How are you?
Walaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillah.
Good.
Alhamdulillah.
He's already got the smooth talk. That was when we were speaking about this. My dad said, he showed me 2 questions that he's going to ask me, and said, that's it. You can't hear any of the other questions, and you're just going to have to wing it, so to speak. And it's a good thing, because then I can respond, either be shocked and not have anything to say, or I can go into quite good depth. So, over to you, Dad. Obviously, you want to ask me some questions.
Yes.
Go for it.
Alhamdulillah. Well, I wanted to say one thing, which you might expand on when I talk, because during the feedback for when I had my talk and when Aisha did her talk, etc., a lot was being said about me. Alhamdulillah, mashallah, which was good. I learned this from Dad, learned this from Dad, and I want to say here on the record. So if your mum's hearing, listening, right, that behind every good man is a greater woman. So I'll leave it at that. You can expand on that. So my first question. So it's different being in this seat. Alhamdulillah. Yeah. I can listen. Maybe you might shock me with some of your answers, but we'll see. So the first question I have for you is, how did you become a Muslim?
So for me, from my memory and what I've been told, 7 years old, I became a Muslim through one day. I've just had a message, come a bit closer that way so you get on the camera. Anyway.
Come a bit closer that way?
Yeah, towards the door, that's it. Because I think there's a camera here, they can't see you on the Facebook. But anyway, so from my memory as well, coming downstairs one day, and obviously the story's been told to me as well, that I came downstairs and said to you and Mom, who were sitting there, how can Jesus, alayhi salam, be God? And you turned around to me after Mom looked at you, as if you'd been indoctrinating me, and said, what do you mean, son? And I said, how can Jesus be God? Because he ate food. Yes, and from that, you explained to me about Islam and all the things on there, and just for some reason at that age, it just made sense. And it's when I try and think back to that, I think if I was to ask a 7-year-old now something to do with, because you've got to have a proper cognitive thought process to go through that and then make that conscious decision. I think that wasn't me. Yeah, that was already, it was my destiny. Yeah, and from a young age. So alhamdulillah, that's how it was.
Alhamdulillah. Yeah, the story was, as you said, you said to me, Jesus alayhi salam can't be God. And I said, the look I got was, oh my days. And then I said, what do you say, son? I said, Jesus can't be God, alayhi salam. And I said, oh, why? He said, because he ate food. And I was like, what? How on earth can a 7-year-old say this? So I said, do you want to be like your dad, son? He said, yes. And then from that, alhamdulillah, you took shahada and I did what I did. Alhamdulillah. Right. That's good. But I've got some other questions leading from
sure,
that.
I'm sure.
So, another thing is that you're a Liverpool fan.
Yep.
Yes, so congratulations to all the Liverpool fans out there. They're winning the league at last after 30 years. And so this is somewhat related. So Liverpool took 30 years since they won the league last time.
Yep.
First time winning the Premier League.
Yep.
And they've won it. But the key is not winning it, it's staying there. So the question I have to you is, you became a Muslim, so how have you remained a Muslim?
Following the Liverpool way. No, I'm joking.
Oh, dear.
No. So, for me, staying as a Muslim, I think being around other good Muslims as well. Yeah, I mean, obviously, soon after I became a Muslim, my sister came along. Yeah, so from that, I already had someone that I was looking after, trying to nurture in a positive light as well. And also, I had my family around me. I had yourself, who was a good Muslim, but also, like, expanding on what you said about my mother. When I think back through my time as a Muslim, even though my mum is a Christian and all those kind of things, every Ramadan I remember her being the one that would make sure the food is there, in the morning, in the evenings, everything for that, making sure we were comfortable. She didn't make it difficult for me at all. Yeah, she was always there as a supportive figure, even through my uni. As a mother, obviously for me, I've been blessed with the best mother that I could even dream of. So there's that as well. But also, it's weird when I think about my life, my first interaction of Islam, or saying that I am a Muslim, and I remember this quite clearly. I have one of my best friends, Tariq. Yeah, I still know him. Now we're quite close. We always talk about football. But when we started school in year 3, so 7 years old, me and him didn't get along. Yeah, we didn't get along at all. And there was a time I remember after school, and his twin sisters came after school and were shouting at me, pointing at me in the face. Why are you doing this to my brother? Blah 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 blah. And it was quite like that. And I was thinking, hey, what's going on here? And then I remember in school we were having a religious education session, and the teacher was talking about the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And I remember, putting my hand up and saying, "Oh, that's my Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam." And Tariq looking at me as if to say, "Why are you taking the mickey out of what he believes in?" And I remember him showing me a book as well, and we were reading through it, and I pointed and said, "Yeah, that's this Prophet here. I believe in that." And he says, "You're a Muslim?" And he says, "Yeah." And then from then we've been friends all that time. So I think when I think of that as well, and also I think I'm quite a logical thinker. So when I see things that are wrong, even if I may have done those things that are wrong, I always knew that wasn't the right thing to do. It's not what I wanted to do. And Islam, fortunately for me, was in the right chamber in my heart for me not to love something else more than Islam and Allah, and those kind of things. So that's where it comes.
Yeah. Alhamdulillah. Because I remember you saying to me before you said, Dad, since I became a Muslim all the years ago, till the time when you said, which is a few years ago, you said you never had any doubt. Alhamdulillah, that's a big thing, not to have any doubt. You know, the thing about our religion, our iman goes up and down.
Yeah.
There's only the prophets, alayhim salam, their iman increases. You know, ours go up and down. Some days we're feeling like, you know, we could do anything, you know, for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And other days it's like, you know, is it prayer time now? Do I have to do wudu now? I try to keep my wudu. I don't want to do wudu again. But we have to realize sometimes that the shaitan, he likes to play tricks with us because he's our number one enemy, open enemy.
Yeah.
You know, and we should treat him as such. So another question I have for you is, what does it mean to be a Muslim? What does being a Muslim mean to you?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. I think before, when I was younger, being a Muslim, I didn't think of it as I'm a Muslim. Yeah, I think it's only been as I've got older that I've been more open to the fact of being a Muslim. And for me, it's more how I am as a person. Yeah, when I hear the stories of our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and how his characteristics, for me, being a Muslim is everything about your characteristics, how you treat others, and you know how you conduct yourself in life. That's me as a Muslim. Yeah, I go out and try and be selfless. For me, you know, try and help others, all those kind of things. You know, have your manners. I know from a young age you always used to say to me, manners. Is there any reward for good other than good? So those things stick with me. So it's like, as a Muslim, it's quite simple. You do good, and you will get good. And that's one thing. From a young age, I remember you saying that. So to be a Muslim for me is those things. Yeah, it's your characteristics, how you handle yourself, what you do to others. And at the same time, if you do treat someone badly, or, you know, for that kind of situation, is what you do to resolve that situation. Yeah, do you deal with it in arrogance, or do you try and be the bigger man, so to speak, and go that way and hope that they see the same way as you? That's what it is for me.
Alhamdulillah. It's interesting that, because I think when you and your sister and Aisha, every time you wanted something from me, and I was thinking about this, thinking, what's the difference between a father and a mother? And then I realized, I'm going to tell you what I think. I came to this conclusion. You'd come to me, Riley, as the dad. I should come to me as a dad. Dad, can I have this? I said, Dad, can I have this? And I would say to you, is there any reward for good?
Other than good.
And you finish it off. And then, inshallah, I'd give you. Right? But there's always like a caveat. Dad, can I have this? Can I have? And I thought about this, and I said, what's the difference between me as a father and your mother towards you? And I realized this. Both of us would give you, except I would ask the question. That's the difference.
Yeah, no, I can agree with that.
If you went to your mum and said, Mum, I need £10, you won't say what for, like me. I would say, what for? What for?
Yep.
As I'm going to my pocket, what for? And I'm sussing you out. Whereas your mum would, here you are, son. Give you.
I can remember that, actually, like when I was in university and I needed somebody. Mum, straight away, can I have some money? Yep.
That's it.
No questions asked, yeah.
That's it. And I'd be like, yeah, and when am I going to get it back, son? You know, and when? And, you know, have you got that money back? So that I realised that there's a difference between, not that we don't love, you know, as fathers, we don't love our children. We can't, I realised our love for our children can't match the mothers in general. I mean, obviously there are some mothers who don't do good by their children, but in general speaking, the love of a mother for their children generally surpasses. I'm not saying fathers don't love, but we can't equal. You know, it's not. There's, like I said, I would ask, and what do you want them? You know, what do you want it for? Yeah. So, which is something in nature as well. If you look in nature, there's only, I was told, there's only one creature that doesn't love unconditionally for their offspring. But then I thought about it, and guess what is it? What is it?
What? The
Shall I
human.
leave it? Shall I leave it to it
Until next
to
time.
text in? I'll give you the answer after the break. Yes. So think about that.
Okay.
Right? In nature, what is it? But then when I give the answer, I'll say why
Yeah.
as well, and then you might think, well, maybe it is love after all. Another question I have is that, which you mentioned when you're doing the introduction, you do stuff for the homeless, in the city centre.
Yeah.
Part of the charity, alhamdulillah. May Allah bless all of you. And how have you been received when you've gone out there? And you've taken Aisha with you as well sometimes,
Yeah.
and her husband, Muslim. So how have you been received when you went?
Yeah, so when I first went there, you're standing there, and it was weird because you had people waiting for us. And I was like, are these people waiting for me? And okay, because there was 3 of us at the time, or 4 of us, sorry. So we went there, we set up, and all the people were actually happy to see us, regardless of the fact that I was, black or wearing, Muslim, or my sister's there, Asians, people, those kind of things. They didn't care. It was like, you're here, you're helping us, thank you very much. And they had a good conversation with them, and you think to yourself, the perception that I have of homeless people, if I'm having a conversation as to how they get there, obviously some of them, and they're very honest as well. Yeah, they get there from drugs. There's been certain things that happen. Some of them literally got kicked out by their families because of disagreements and things like that. But you realise these are still human beings. I think that's the one thing that I took from that. And they were really happy to see us, and they were happy that we had started it again, because the charity was doing it previously quite often, and then it fizzled out, and so then we started it again. To see them, it was nice, because you're doing something for that person that could be the one thing that they get that week until the following week. They may not get another hot drink for the week, and it was kind of humbling, because you realise the kind of situations that we may complain about, and it's like, you can't complain about that. Yeah, we had. It was weird because the day before we had a electricity cut, and it was there for a couple of hours. Yeah, and I thought, we've got an electricity cut, but these guys don't have anything. Yeah, for the whole time they're there. They may go into the shelters, but it's not theirs. So it was an eye opener, and it was something. That's why I can keep trying to do it. But unfortunately, the COVID situation came about, and yeah.
Yes, because when I think about the homeless people, and I think sometimes they might come knock on your window if you're in your car, or have you got some change? Can I have some change for this? Can I have a drink or whatever? And how we treat them, because sometimes we never know. You never know. That can be a test. Just what I mean, how you treat that person is. And we're not saying that if you got only £5, you give them all your money. You don't put yourself into poverty to help the poor. That's not what it was all about. But if you got something, and it's about your intention as well. You don't do it like you said when you go there. You're not doing it for them to thank you and to big you up. You're doing it because, inshallah, do I believe, right? You're doing it because it's a good thing to do. Like you said, if those people who are homeless, they only get 1 meal a week, and they look forward, like you said, they were waiting for you.
Yeah, that's what shocked me. Waiting for us, and I thought this, and the amount of people that came as well. So the time we were out there there for an hour, and constantly people are coming, and you're thinking, how do they even know we're here? And obviously there's a network of them talking, but it's like it was nice that they took everything. Yeah, so all the stuff that we had, they took it all. And and it's weird because you're giving like maybe a chocolate bar or something like that, and then you just like, do you want another one? It's there for you guys. We're here to serve you, so don't be shy in asking for them. But yeah,
alhamdulillah. And so, is your intention after when it's reduced from 2 to 1 meter to no meters, to start again?
To get back again. It was good.
Inshallah.
It was good.
Bi'idhnillah.
Bi'idhnillah.
And another question I have for you is, what would you like to achieve in life, apart from looking after me and your mum and all that?
Yeah, you keep saying at 40 years old.
What it says, I can show you the passage in the Quran if you want. So when you do the dua, 40 years of age, look after your parents as they looked after me. And it's not that far off, is it, son?
No.
You know what I mean?
No one knows
I'm not going to say your age now, and I'm not going to say my age either. Alhamdulillah. So what is it that you'd like to achieve in life? which is going to come to an end at some stage. And if you could look back at the time, think,
Yeah, it's a good question.
Yeah.
And it's strange because before, when I was young, I remember being 21 years old, right? And I remember saying, by 25, I'm going to have a Lamborghini. Yeah, that was it. It's like money, 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 money. I'm going to be making money, doing this, that, and the other. I don't care about this whole, stereotypical racism, all that. Nope, no barriers. Going to keep going, keep going, keep going. Got to 25, I had some money. Obviously didn't have a Lambo. And then kept going, and I thought, right, then it's 27. What am I going to do now? Because I was working at the time, and I was going up the ladder quite quickly in terms of a career, and work. And then I remember getting, the flashy car and those kind of things. And it was like, okay, so I'm here now. I've got the nice car, I've got money, can look after my family, etc., etc., etc. But yeah, then what? But I think for me as a blessing, when I think it's 3 years ago now that I lost my job. Yeah, so I'm at that thing thinking I'm king, right? I won't say the words I want to say, but king, and it just got stripped from me, and to the point where you're like, wow, okay, so all these things that I wanted I now don't have, and this is the lesson. And I remember at the time, and before this, I was giving to the charity, to the mosque and those kind of things. And I remember the whisper. It was a case of I was looking at my money coming out each month, and I was like, right, I need to try and reduce this. And I kept seeing it there. Every time I went there, I kept seeing the amount that I was giving to the charity. And I was like, if I remove that, then I've got a decent amount that I can do. And I thought, no, because before that, a lot of good things had happened. Yeah, which we can speak about another time. But a lot of good things had happened. So I thought, no, I'm going to leave it there, and inshallah, we're okay. And then from that, I got another job and so on and so on. And, from where I am now, own business and all that kind of stuff. So alhamdulillah, that's good. But for me now, my aim is to be actually just content. Yeah, content in this. I know this life is short. Yeah, regardless. I know my grandfather lived to 94. He passed away a few years ago. My grandmother's now quite old. And I think, you see people dying all the time. Yeah, and I get reminded of it quite a lot. And so for me, it's just be content with what I have and be grateful in this dunya and look after those who have looked after you. And, don't, like when I spoke about the chambers in the heart, yeah, don't put anything in there that I'm going to be a slave to other than Allah.
Alhamdulillah.
And that's the answer to that.
It's interesting what you said there as well, because I do miss the fast car. The few of them I was that wasn't a ghetto sign he was giving me, like the in the hood. I know it's like in the hood. I was thinking to like people like trying to do the symbol. What's this about? Oh gosh. Yeah, I did like the fast cars, to be honest with you, because I didn't have to insure it, didn't have to put petrol in it. Alhamdulillah, it was nice.
Yeah, then you curve the wheels and I have to fix them. Yeah. Anyway, carry on.
Yeah. Anyway, I don't know. Was it me?
There was no one else.
I don't know. Let's not go into that. Anyway, let's change the subject. Change the subject very quickly, right? So, have you encountered any obstacles in being a Muslim? And if so, what?
Can I cram this into 2 minutes? Obstacles, I wouldn't.
You can talk after
yeah, I know. I'm just going to. 2 minutes. I'm thinking, right? It's not so much obstacles, but more because many people say obstacles. They have like people who, have said bad things about them being a Muslim. Those kind of. I've not had that really. For me, it's been tests. For me, and what I'm going to do to overcome those tests. So, like in university life, before uni, I was like a proper geek, just playing my computer games. I was just the innocent guy. Then I went to uni. There's a whole different world came to me. And it's like, what is this? There's partying, going out. There's the social aspect of it. You're walking around and there's people who, they're just completely different to how you could imagine. And you've got that as a test. So on one hand, I'm a Muslim. And on the other hand, you're like, I want to be around these, my friends, the new friends that I've made. I want to go out with them. They're going clubbing, so I'm going to go clubbing. All these kind of tests. But then you're in that lifestyle, and I'll say that was my biggest test. And then being in uni, coming back out of uni, and then you're thinking, right, what path are you going to go down? Yeah. And so it's not an obstacle, so to speak. People didn't go, oh, you're a Muslim, so that's really bad. Why don't you go and do this? This is more fun. They kind of just ignored the fact that I was a Muslim completely and just treated me as if there was no such thing as a faith. And it was like, we're going to do this, that, and the other. Yeah, and we're going to go out and party. And that's what I'll say. Those are the kind of tests. My environment, that was the biggest test for me in terms of different things. But in terms of obstacles, and I'll expand on this afterwards, I would say that for my obstacles is more myself and my perception of myself as a Muslim, which I will talk about because I only realised that recently in terms of being a Muslim, what it meant to me in terms of how I outwardly expressed being a Muslim. So we'll talk about that after break, inshallah. We'll come back then.
Inshallah.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome everyone again. Welcome, Dad. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Good. I've figured out how to get this Zoom camera working now. So now we've got the 360 camera here, which is pretty good. Hopefully everyone can see it on the Facebook channel. So yeah, Dad.
Yes, so before the break, I asked you a question. Have you encountered any obstacles in being a Muslim? And you said some things about your environment, etc. Do you want to expand?
Yeah. So, like I said, my environment is something that's been a big test for me over the years. And like I was saying in the break, for me, I don't really think of myself as a revert to Islam because it's all I've ever really known. Yeah, before 7 years old, I remember going to Sunday school and things like that. But after that, it's all been Islam. Yeah, so for me, I've just been tested quite a lot, yeah, in that kind of thing. And one thing I've realized as well, you asked the question before about what it meant to me to be a Muslim, and thinking about it a bit more, there was a part very recently, it's been a change for me, where I enjoyed the idea that people didn't know I was a Muslim. So my name's Daniel Brown, or Daniel Lee Brown, it's a very generic English name. I never outwardly showed that I was a Muslim or anything like that, and it was one of those things where, I would never bring up that I'm a Muslim unless the need needed to arise, or if I knew someone was a Muslim before, then I'd be like, oh yeah, I'm a Muslim as well, yeah. But it was weird because it was like I was not ashamed, but it was the kind of thing that you don't want to have to deal with it, because I must have subconsciously thought about the negative press that Muslims get, and I didn't want to have myself associated with that. And so that's what I thought. I must be thinking that way, and I've only come to that realization probably in the last couple of years that that's what I was thinking. So I had to consciously change, and one of those things was when and you mentioned Ahmadiyya, and I remember you sending me the message saying this man was an inspiration for yourself to joining Islam. And I watched the video, and then I found one where he was talking about the topi and him in an airport, and he's saying how all these Muslims going there and they're not wearing anything, not identifying as a Muslim. And he always identified as a Muslim, and he went there and he said he walked through the border exchange, and the man asked him, he says, why do you wear that? And Ahmed was thinking to himself, why is he asking me? He must have seen so many different people from different walks of life coming through here, and he's asking me, and he says, well, none of them are out with, they may have the beards and things like that, but what is this? So he explained to him what it was, and the person then was intrigued. And so he was mentioning how that was his dawah. And I thought to myself, he's right. Yeah, if I'm doing all these different things, trying to show my character and things like that, but people don't know that character comes from my core of being a Muslim, then what is the point? Yeah, so from that moment, I started wearing it. And then the first day I wear it, I remember speaking to Aisha saying, Aisha, you never guess what, I'm walking along with my daughter and a man who I didn't know, he's just an Asian guy walking past with another guy, and they gave me salam. And I'm thinking, okay, right, so that, alhamdulillah, I had a good experience. And then I thought to myself, so you got the people who I want to gravitate towards are gravitating towards me, and the people who I don't are going to leave me alone anyway. So it's a double-edged sword. I'll just say alhamdulillah. I'm like, okay, so from that point, I was like, okay, I'm going to change the environment and what I perceive as well, and how I do things.
Alhamdulillah. I know you got, because when I think of obstacle, I'll give you an example for myself. Like, I have a beard, and I think I might have mentioned it the first talk. Like, when I decided to, I said, right, there's a sunnah, grow the beard, have at least one fist length, and growing. And every time I looked in the mirror, but you have a beard as well, alhamdulillah. So there's even more, and your sister wears hijab, and that's like, that you identify as Muslims. But there's you did say something as well. That's you're right. You wear the topi. You have a beard, mashallah. Ultimately, though, it's what's in the heart. But it doesn't mean though. If anyone's listening to this, sometimes people make excuse. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You know, do you pray 5 times? No, it doesn't matter. You know, Allah will forgive me. Why are you eating during Ramadan? You know, I'm hungry, but it doesn't matter. That's between me and Allah. So we have a duty to go and still, you know, correct. And when you say about identify, I think for a long time you've known me. I've worn this and beard for years as well. And I remember sometimes when I'm walking around, and there's a person who identifies as a Muslim himself. So he's not wearing anything that looks like a Muslim, but he calls himself a Muslim, and he gives me salam. But he's drinking alcohol. And as I'm walking to him, as soon as everyone else, nothing. As soon as he sees me, he hides the alcohol, hides it. And I'm thinking, why are you hiding it from me? Allah can see you. You should be more afraid of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala than you should be of me. But because maybe it's out of respect as well.
Yeah.
Because sometimes people don't want to, do things in front of you, thinking, oh, he's a religious person, and I don't want this religious person looking bad, because they still have a conscience.
Yeah.
They might be doing things which they deem are negative, right? But they still have, like you said, in their core, in the smallest part of them, we're told in Qiyamah, the person who's got the weight of an atom. Now you imagine, if you think how small an atom is, and then if I said to you, weigh the atom, what scale is going to be able to weigh the atom?
Exactly.
And we're told that if a person's got an atom's weight of Iman, that they're going to go to paradise. An atom's weight. And so that's mercy.
Yeah.
If you think on that level. So when I think of the obstacles that you've encountered, and you said, so maybe you decide to grow a beard, and because I keep saying to people, oh, I haven't seen your son. I said, my son comes to the mosque. I said, yeah, he's like me, but bigger and more handsome. I keep saying that you're more handsome. Right, and then, right. I think to myself, am I being modest or am I being truthful? And I think, all right. I don't know. So I had to go. So, Alhamdulillah. I said, my son is better looking than me. MashaAllah. That's what you want for all your children. What's interesting for me is being the father of you and Aisha, is my relationship with you and Aisha. When I look at it, because we have a relationship, and I look back and I think, Islam gives direction, guidance. It tells us, shows us that it's better for you to do. For example, when we put it on our shoes, we put our right shoe on first before the left foot. What the difference would that make ultimately? Do you see what I mean? If we put our clothes on, we put our right sleeve, put our arms in right sleeve first before the left. Ultimately, what difference it make? When we go into the masjid, we go in right foot and come out left foot. Ultimately, you think, well, people look, what difference does it make? In fact, I've said to a brother, when you're going into the mosque, it's better to right foot first, and then, what difference does that make? It doesn't make any difference. And I'm thinking, hang on a minute, that's a sunnah. So it must make a difference. It must make a difference. Just because you can't see
see the difference at the time.
Putting the right foot first and the left foot. If you could see the rewards, I should think this. I said, if you said to everyone, every time you do something good, I give you a $5, right? The queue, you get Muslims and non-Muslims, and you get everybody. In fact, everyone will queue who wants money, in general speaking, But the reward that you get for doing good is more than that. Just because you can't see it, but the society we're in is unfortunately is a materialistic. We're in a materialistic society, and we are of the I am what I have. You see what I mean? And if you've got what I want, I'm going to take it from you. And that's unfortunately the way it is. And I find that Islam, for me, and from the obstacle, and my relationship with you and Aisha is, look, it's good to have the good things. It's good. We're not going to, if you've got money, or you've got the ability to wear good things, or drive good things, or have a nice house, or whatever. But it's, as you mentioned before, is not to let it enter into your heart, the core, where the space where you're supposed to have Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in your heart. Everything else after that, so everything's got to be in the right place. Exactly. So at your core, you have Allah. Allah says, you You can eat meat, right? But you can't eat pork, right? Because why? It's not that the pork's going to kill you straight away if it doesn't, It's just it's not good for you, so you avoid it. Now, alcohol, you can sip alcohol because it's not going to kill you, but Allah says no because if what affects you in large quantities, avoid in small quantities, so it's forbidden. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of guidance, and so my relationship with you and Aisha is one, inshallah, I believe, is one of guidance, and I try to be the role model because unfortunately, especially being black, male, Muslim, and our roles as fathers, you hear about baby mother and that kind of thing. So as our role as fathers with our children, very important. We have to start ourselves. There's no point in pointing the finger at everyone else when we're not doing it themselves. So for myself, an obstacle is in the society in which we're in. I'm looking like, how do I bring my children up? What do I do with my children? It's not everything's not been honky dory because if I have to, I remember I was a kind of a person who used to raise my voice. My voice would be like, and then the world would stop. So I didn't have to raise my hand. I had to raise my voice, and then people got the message. Mm-hmm. But people understood. It wasn't done out of hate. It's done out of love. And you and your sister, you did play up. You did things which needed correcting, as you mentioned before, when your mum disciplined you on the stairs. Oh dear! I said yes, which I mentioned before, the love mum has. But I think if you cross that line,
the line's a bit more.
If you cross that line, and I look as well. And I used to say to you and Aisha, and I used to draw in the air like this, and I said, son, what am I doing? And you say, drawing a line? I said, yes. And I say to you, son, I'm on one side and you're on the other. Yes?
Yep.
I said, now you can go to the line, you can sniff the line. I don't mean lines as in, drug line. You know what I mean? And you can look over the line, right? But you mustn't cross the line. I said, if you cross the line, son, you can be in my territory. And I remember when we were sitting in the house and you were playing up with your mum, and every time you was playing up with your mum, you'd look back at me. I remember it clearly. You look back at me, then you do something else. I'm just sitting there. I'm not bothering. You're doing, and you look back at me, and then you go even further with your mum, teasing or whatever you're doing, and you look back at me, and all of a sudden I go, and you go, what? I said, son, you're in my territory now. And I
remember that clearly as well.
You're in my territory now. So the relationship, I think it's important that the relationship that we as Muslim men, fathers, have with our children and with our wives, family, is important. And that can be an obstacle as well, because we have to deal with our own shortcomings, our own nuffs, in our relationship, that my thing, as the father, I know everything. Whatever, I'm the thing, whatever I say goes, regardless of whether I'm right or wrong. And it's important that we and you as a father as well, that you're open to, I'm going to put it this way, constructive criticism. Yes? Because it's got to be constructive. Because unfortunately, I work with children, and I've seen children beat up their parents. Call their parents names, kick them between the legs, pull the mum's hair, call the mum all the names under the sun. And I'm like that. What? I couldn't even raise my voice to my mum, let alone raise my hand. And I say, what's going on? And then I think, well, that's because of the society we're in and how their home environment is, and that's what breeds, that's what comes out of it, And I couldn't, someone said, thinking, your children, what? What do you mean, my children? My children what? Doing what? And my children, no chance. With my mother, we used to tease my brothers. I've got 3 brothers who were, 3 brothers, 2 sisters. And we used to tease our mother. Tease, as you do, tease our mother. And I'll never forget Well, my brother, we were around 6 foot plus. And I remember our mum was 5'2" maybe, and we're teasing her, and all she'll say is, I'll wait till you're asleep. And that was it. That was it. We realised we're not teasing anymore because we have to sleep. And that was a one-liner. So yeah, the obstacles and in the society we're in, and you look around, for example, people ask me about you in particular. Is he? What concern it is of them, I don't know. But does he pray 5 times a day? To my knowledge, yes. And he fasts during Ramadan, and he gives zakat, and he tries to do good. You see what I mean? And that's obstacle. Because not every Muslim prays five times a day. Some Muslims don't pray at all. You know, some Muslims, unfortunately, the obstacle is even fasting or doing some kind of good. You know, and sometimes that's because what they placed in their heart isn't is not in the right compartment, is not in the right place in their heart. So then you get confusion. Like you go to a petrol station. I listened to this Dr. Diguru the other day.
Yeah.
And she said that if you go to a petrol station to put, they call it gas in America. They put gas in the car, and you find that the orange juice is cheaper. So you put orange juice in the car, and then wrong thing. It might be cheaper, but it's a wrong thing in that. So it's interesting what you said your obstacles are, in life. But we said, even though some people misinterpret the word jihad, jihad, what are you going to do, jihad? Jihad means struggle.
Yeah.
That's what it means. So in life, it's a struggle, how you get up in the morning, go to work, do things around the house, to do good. I'm talking about to do good, some people make more effort in doing bad.
It's because it's easier. What I found in my life is when I'm doing the good, you start realizing that your own self is your own enemy. Yeah. You start doing these certain things, and you think to yourself, there's just times where it's gonna be, I can't be bothered, and that comes into your head. But it's a good thing to do, but then you still can't be bothered, and then you think to yourself, well, what else am I gonna do in that time that is gonna be better than doing this good? For example, if there was a period of time where I was learning Arabic, and it only took me 2 weeks to learn Arabic because I was focused on it, and I thought to myself, 2 weeks to learn Arabic, and I wanted to carry on. And then for a good month or so, it was a case of we had this lockdown, and I would be with my daughter all the time, and then she would go to bed, and then that's my time. And then my time became, what am I going to do in my time now? My time now is playing Call of Duty, not learning more Arabic. It's like, instead of learning the Arabic, which I've done, and it's been really good, and it helped me to read the Quran and things like that, it's, no, I'll play some Call of Duty. And until I became conscious of that, I was like, you've got to break these things down. Yeah, it's not bad to play these games and do all those kind of stuff, but, to still do the good things. Yeah, and don't get caught up on doing something else and completely forgetting about it. And then you're up late playing the game, and then you get to Fajr time when you sleep, and your alarm goes off, and you're like, yeah, and then that's when I thought, no, right, I need to nip that in the bud, and not go that way. But the thing about me with environment, one thing that really changed me about 3 years ago. So up to that point, I'm living my life. Probably more dunya related, I'd say. I'll still pray and do those kind of things, but it wasn't a thing. Yeah, and when I was there, I remember my friend Bilal. We've got a group chat on WhatsApp. And someone posted a video of this man who had a lot of things, a lot of materialistic things. And when other people watched this and didn't have the same reaction as me, but I had the reaction. And he had all this money, and he was young, so he must have been about 30 odd. But he had his cars, watches, all those kind of things. Anything that someone would want to have in the dunya, he had. And then it was a case, and then the video just switched, and it was like, but then I got told I've got cancer. And he's like, what do you mean I've got cancer? And they're like, no, you've got months to live. He's like, what do you mean I've got months to live? Yeah, he's got all these kind of things, and he's got months to live. And then from that, and he was a Muslim guy all his life, so and then from that he was like, well, I can't take any of this with me and do it. So he turned to Allah in repentance for all those things, gave away everything, from what the video showed, did a lot of good, helped, did a load of things in his community and helped a load of the young Muslims and all those different things, and then he passed away. And for me, I broke down. I remember it. And that's a big moment for me. I broke down. And even now, I'm like, yeah. And I just had to go into sujood and say, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. And I remember there crying and saying to my friends and saying, has this not hit you how it's hit me? What are we doing? Yeah, at this point, we've got the cars and we're bickering over ridiculous things. And at that point, I was like, no, that from this day, this person had the mercy of Allah for that he knew when he was going to die. Yeah, and from that, because that's two things that we aren't, like, we said we would lose the plot. If we knew when we were going to die and how we were going to die, that's a mercy in itself, because the people would lose the plot. But he knew that, how he was going to die and when he was going to die, and from that he turned back to Allah and did good. And I thought, well, for myself, I don't know those two things. So what am I doing? Yeah, I don't know what it could be. And if I die in this state that I'm in, is it a good state? No. I had to say that to myself. So I was like, no, that's it. From now on, I'm doing all the sunnah prayers, not missing anything, trying to do good. And then from that, it led to doing the charity with the masjid. And then good came from that. Doing more charity, good came from that. Doing different things that I know are good, removing the bad as well. Yeah, so saying, nope, keeping away from that. And when I think of the last 3 years, it's ridiculous. The plan, that I could have tried to plan things, but it's ridiculous. So from having the job, losing the job, doing something else, getting the business that I own, all these different scenarios, being able to support these things, learning Arabic, and I think I wouldn't even wanted to do all these things, or had the plan to do them the way I wanted to do them, but then they came easily, just from me doing the right thing. And that for me, that was a big thing. So that was a big, and I don't want to call it transition, because people use that in the wrong word, but that was my how I changed, the transformation, so we say, or how I became conscious of what I'm doing. And I think that's a big thing. When I speak to people who are Muslims but aren't doing what they should be doing, I can understand, because that's where I was before. And it's only until you have the conscious thought process about it and be honest with yourself, that if you do believe these things, why would you not follow them? Yeah, that's one thing I thought. As I say, I say to someone, if you weren't born a Muslim, do you think you would have reverted to Islam? The way you are, do you think you would have reverted to Islam? And I asked a few people that, and people don't answer. They kind of just ignore it. And I thought, I'm hoping that I've hit them in a certain way to make them realize that if they're going to walk around telling people they're Muslim and they do the fast and only fast, but then they're going out drinking and doing all those things, what's the point of you saying you're a Muslim? That's just the way I thought of it. Not that they're not Muslims, but it's just the fact that, if you're going to do it properly. And at the same time, when I think of people who aren't Muslim, and obviously everything's for the dunya, and I thought, if I didn't believe in God, right, everything that I would be doing in this life, I would be the best at it. I'll be the best dunya man. This is me and Manan, we're talking about this. I wouldn't care. I wouldn't care about people. I'll be walking over people left, right, and center to get the best of the best of the best. And we were saying there's people who don't even believe in God, who aren't even doing dunya right. And it's like, so what are you? What are you here for? What's your purpose? How, and I thought to myself, if I didn't have God in my heart, I'd be so sad. And I think of people who have bad, things and troubles in their lives, and this is it for them. I personally couldn't live like that. It would drive me to a bad situation. Yeah. So for me, Islam is everything. And from what I've known from a young age, and what, from my core and everything that I follow, is because of that. And it just seems logical to me. When I wake up in the morning, and we went to the Telford Wrekin. I had a walk up there, and I'm looking around. I'm going, the sky doesn't fall on us. And you look around, there's beauty everywhere. The sun, you can at the night time you see the stars, the moon, birds flying, and you see all those trees giving off oxygen, and then we give out that carbon dioxide. The circle of life. And you think, when we're looking at bees, and we're like, bees make honey, and they get the pollen from the flower. And I thought to myself, come on, I'm a logical thinker, and I say, this is not something that happened by chance. It's impossible. The chance of this happening, you couldn't even dream of the numbers. It's that high. So, and you say that you can't have intelligence from no intelligence. It's an impossible thing. So, we were created, and we were created to praise and worship Allah in everything that we do. That's not just praying, as in the five prayers. It's what we do in life. So as a Muslim, that's it for me. So that my story of it is, if you're claiming to be a Muslim, inshallah, one day you realize what it is for you, yourself, what that means to be a Muslim, and not what people tell you, what it should be. And from that, do the things that you want to do for the akhirah. Because we're not here for a long time, and we want to make sure. So that's my story. I know it's gone very quick. I could be talking here for a long time.
How long got?
About 15 seconds, so it's gone quick.
Okay, alhamdulillah.
So, yeah, so it's been good. I hope everyone's enjoyed that. There's a lot more I probably could say. We might use it another time, but assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.